Okay, Ford Fusion JU front axle shaft bearing. Not a wheel bearing, front axle shaft bearing. This one is so bad that the center actually won't spin. It just slips on the shaft as I'm spinning it here. It goes here. I have a new one, don't worry. This is the wheel side. On this side you go pretty much the same as with wheel bearings for Ford Fiesta, or well, just about any car with that kind of a with that kind of a assembly. This bit is one piece. It doesn't come apart. Initially I thought it comes apart. It does not come apart. Okay, that makes it a little bit on the hard side. I'm gonna have to, I'm not a very good camera guy, am I? I'm gonna have to beat this back up to shape, because that's steel and I bent it, and it shouldn't be bent. If it's bent, the wheel bearing will not fit properly, but that's okay. There's actually a little bit of a notch here. I presume that is to prevent the shaft from breaking here. And this bit is actually a little bit wider. The way how you remove the bearing from here, I just done that. I have got this tool for your regular pneumatic hammer SDS Plus, and I ground it down so that I could actually engage the, through these notches I can actually engage the inner edge of the bearing. You could hypothetically, the old one you can beat on the side. I just didn't want to disassemble that bearing before I knew I can actually remove it properly. So yeah, by the way, this one, yeah, it's really gone. It needs a change so badly. A lot of people would change the whole shaft. That's of course a possibility, but why would you change the whole shaft for like 15 or 1600 Czech crowns or more money when you can just give it a bearing for like 10 bucks, It's like for like 200 300 Czech crowns. Makes no sense to do it in any other way but to pull the bearing off the shaft. You can see my rig here, fairly standard. Every workshop should have that, so removal shouldn't be a problem for you. I'm having it sideways because the table is a little bit broken, so I didn't want to push on it from the top, and also this puts more force from the vise into the shaft. There's more friction here, so it's easier to work with. Now I will remove it out of here, and I'll fix the side here, and I'll be back when I'm putting back the new bearing on. Alright, I have put you in my tripod so that you can see, and I have some free hands here. I'm going to get my Vaseline and we'll get to work. Okay, Vaseline. Almost doesn't matter what kind of Vaseline it is. This one is for bicycles. First thing you want to do when putting this all together. It's pretty windy today, by the way, so expect a lot of noises. And yeah, the back wall is barren. This building is being renovated, and it's like a 20-year plan, so don't expect that next year you can see anything better. Oh wait, I forgot to... Oh, I could use this temporarily. Where have I put the Vaseline? I had it in my hand like 3 seconds ago. What in the... Ah, there it is. I put it on a grinder. Okay, so we're going to Vaseline this bit here, nice and lubricated. You always want to lubricate these parts before you try to shove a bearing on. Alright, that's a little bit of a knowledge that you get when you work in a factory as a maintenance guy. You want these surfaces nice and greasy. No exceptions. And I have put the new bearing onto the windowsill here because it's nice and sunny outside, and that's going to make it warmer. And the room is cold. So the axle is cool by, I don't know, a few degrees centigrade, not a lot. And the bearing is at like 30, I think this might be actually some 40 degrees centigrade. So it's definitely, oh no, I have, I have minor issues here. I didn't notice how dirty the other side here is, and it doesn't want to go up. Now I have to be very careful not to damage the bearing. That's a new one. That's how you remove the old one too. That's a new one. I don't want any of the debris. I just noticed, yeah, it has a debris on the inside. I just noticed how filthy this part is. I don't want that. We're going to use some Concord 101. It's kind of like WD-40, but not quite the same. It's a slightly different formula that does effectively very similar stuff. Yes, I know I'm cleaning off the Vaseline too. I shouldn't, but I want to be sure that I don't have any significant debris. And I'll take it down later on with the device itself needs to be cleaned. And now I'm gonna gently attach the shaft here. I'm gonna clean the inside of the bearing. Oh, that is, that's spinning so nicely. Okay, comparison. This bearing spins beautifully. Let me put it somewhere clean. This bearing does not want to spin at all. Okay, now we're clean. And we're going to re-lubricate everything. Whoop, 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 whoop. Bicycle lubrication. I don't have a bicycle, it's kind of funny. I have a lubricant for it, but I don't have a bicycle itself. And I'm going to also grease up this ring, because that's roughly the width of the bearing that comes on there. Almost the face, but not quite. Strange choices done by Ford. Or actually PSA. This is actually PSA stuff. It comes out as a brand for, by the way, lubricate the inside of the bearing too. I forgot to tell you that, and in fact I forgot to lubricate the inside of the bearing previously. That's bad. That's bad. You want both faces. Not your face, but both bearing faces. Nice and greasy. Okay. We are set, it would appear. I'm thinking how I'm going to turn that axle, but I'll have time to think about that later too. Oh, I think I know why they have this, or it may be so, that they wanted to center the bearing here better so they can press it on. I don't have a press, so we're going to knock it on with this again. I'm going to clean it. Expect major shaking. And you don't want to hurry it up too much. The bearing itself will be pretty good at centering if you give it time to center itself. Okay? Okay? See, we have no press, and we're not in a hurry. We want to do this fix today, and if we're going to fuck it up, it's not going to work. So, we're not going to fuck it up. Right? Never hit the outside if you have a shaft in the middle. If you have a bearing that you're, like a wheel bearing, for example, that you're pressing into the hub, then you want to hit only the outside and never the inside. Always press directly on the part that you're pressing on. Alright, that you're pressing into something or onto something. Never the part that is separated from the other part with the balls. Because the balls are not going to like it. I have noticed if I'm knocking it from the top, it actually kind of likes to just get on really nicely. I'm not going to be forcing it that. It's just an observation. How are we on it sideways? Pretty good. It's going to be becoming harder and harder because we have more and more of the bearing face here. Try to put it... No, that's not safe enough. The more and more we're on the face here, the harder it will go. But it shouldn't go atrociously hard. If you lubricate everything, and the bearing is not a hard press fit, which it shouldn't, because if you have a very hard press fit, what could happen is that the bearing actually cracks. But what happens before then is that the bearing gets ever so slightly larger in the middle, because the metal is flexible. And that causes, that causes the bearing to have more resistance. That's not good. And maybe just a redneck without a garage, but I know that, and now you know that too. Back and forth, all the way. Don't get carried away. Don't use too much force. Okay, that felt like the end. The end bounces. Okay, we're going to make sure that we have the end everywhere, where we should have the end. And I think we're on. Yeah, it bounces like crazy. We're straight on the metal. You can see, da-da-da-da, we've done that. We have done it. By the way, I don't know if I have talked about the... Oh yeah, it's visible here. I don't know if I talked about this side. This side goes into the gearbox. You want to be careful with that because there's going to be oil spilling out. So make sure you have something to catch that. I myself have been actually letting out a lot of oil out of the gearbox. I'm going to be putting it back, unfortunately. It's pretty black, but I'm going to put it back because I don't have the appropriate gear oil. You always use the proper oils for everything. You lubricate stuff the way you should, and you should be alright when you're doing your own repairs. It's a little bit of a special knowledge that you can have. It's free. At least as of recording of this, I don't even have my channel monetized. So it's really free. No charge. And by the way, do be careful to make this really clean, because that's inside the gearbox. I think quite clearly you don't want to have stuff in the gearbox. This side should be clean. I'm not sure if you're seeing it. I hope I put you into the correct angle. This side is the wheel bearing side. That must be clean. So I'll be now cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. I'll take it out onto the sun and I'll be having fun with some brake cleaner. Oh yeah. And the job is done. I mean, almost done. It still needs to come back onto the car, but the part that I consider tough is done. Alright, back with some updates. We're under the car. This here is the gearbox. It's a little greasy here because I pulled the shaft out, but the Gufaro seems fine, so I wasn't changing that. I just lubricated the shaft very carefully when I was putting it in, because that Gufaro likes to be greasy. Alright, we have the rest of the shaft here. You can see I've cleaned it up nicely. There we have our new bearing. I've lubricated the nuts here. I've lubricated the brackets. Made sure that everything is nice and greasy so that we're not stuck next time we're trying to change that, if we're ever going to need to do that. I don't think so. I don't think that bearing will ever break again within the lifetime of this car. And now I'll be moving on to the part outside. You can't see that because it's too sunny. I'll be moving on to the wheel bearing. I'll be reassembling the shaft there, and I'll be back when that's done. So essentially I have magicked the shaft from this direction into the gearbox, and I'm working from the gearbox to the edge here. I hope I'm not doing it wrong, because I don't want to be loosening this up again. It's not very spacious. Okay, so update here. The shaft is currently placed in the wheel hub. We still have disconnected steering, and you can still see that this shock should be in there. Everything is nice and lubricated here and there and here. I do have a little bit of an issue down here. Can you see it? You can't. I'll simply tell you the gasket is gone because the camera is stupid. So the seal is kind of gone, but the joint itself is good. It's actually kind of better than this one. Not supposed to move, man. But you know what, if it's a little tight, I can go with it. I can go with it. Maybe they have poorly lubricated it in the factory or something. It works. I'm going to leave it that way. Oh yeah, so I'll be right back once I bolt it back on. Okay, we're almost assembled. In case you wonder how deep this rod goes, I mean the shock absorber, how deep it goes into this bracket, have no fear, you can't mess it up. There's only one way how it fits. So unless you're using some really brute force, you can't screw it up. And that bolt over there, that must come out if you want to remove it, because there's a little hook that fits into that. And it's not going to let you go anywhere wrong. It's just not going to allow you. So this goes exactly as the bolt allows you. This thing, in my case, I have a really tight joint. But in case it's not tight enough, you need to tighten it up here. It's now full of grease because everything was perfectly lubricated. I'm lubricating everything to almost scary levels. Right here you have a Torx hole. Not sure what size. There's a Torx hole that you can hold this with while you're tightening this with a wrench. Pretty handy feature if it's not too rusted. Alright, so now it's all just tightening the... I'll be tightening the nut here. That will pull the thread here forward just far enough for me to I mean, it's going to tighten it down completely, not just far enough, it's going to tighten it down completely. And that's going to be more or less it. After that, we're going to be reassembling the brake right here. That's going to be coming back on here. I wasn't removing the ABS sensor because it didn't want to come out, so I didn't want to break it. But just in case you do, then you don't really have to leave this on. You can actually remove the whole thing, not care about this bearing at all. I mean, this nut at all, just leave it on, and you can actually pull the whole shaft even more comfortably than I did it. It's just that I couldn't remove that sensor without destroying it. And I don't have it right now, so that's why I left it on in that weird manner that it was. So yeah, that would be about it. That's our successful bearing change. Now we're gonna do just a really basic stuff, and we're off to changing the intercooler. That's a little unhappy out here. Yeah, right. Brighten up. Okay, I'm gonna be tightening up the the nut on the wheel, because I'm forgetful. I don't want to be leaving it to putting it down, putting the car to the ground. So I'm gonna do it now, but of course the wheel wants to spin. So I have this little instrument here. It's just a pipe with a threaded rod in there and a nut and a washer, and I've set it up so that it goes like this. Hang on, I have to put you down for a bit. And that allows me to press on the brake pedal. Brake. So now we're nice and secure. Okay, so the nut is on, it's torqued, the brakes are still on. I'm gonna probably leave it that way because I'm gonna be doing other work on the car, and this way it's secure. I'll just put the tire on there so that I know if this gives. This is some redneck shit right here. If this gives, it's gonna land on the wheels, not on something else. But I've been welding this with 7013 rods, so I'm reasonably sure this is right about as strong as it's gonna get. Certainly not like those shopping mall supports. Okay, the tire is on. Now, the gearbox side. I had to empty up a little bit from the gearbox in case you ever need to change the oil, like I'm gonna. Not today, but soon. Right here, there's this plastic cover that goes over that. Under the plastic cover, you find your clutch and whatever the fuck that is. Well, basically your things. Oh wait, that's gonna be probably the shifter, and that's gonna be clutch, I think. I'm not sure. There is the plug that lets the oil out, and right above that, there's a bolt that lets the oil in. And the industry standard tends to be that. I'm not sure with this car, I'd have to look it up for new oil, but industry standard usually tends to be that you fill the gearbox all the way up to the fill hole, and when it starts spilling out, you're done. Pretty clever. Anyway, I'm gonna just pour in the stuff that I have available, which is the stuff that poured out, and I'll call it a day. Alright, returning the oil into the gearbox. Yep, that's my gearbox oil. That's what actually came out of there. Shocking, I know. It's coming down very slowly. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm filling it in around the light, well, that's because I'm using gravity here to help me get that oil into the gearbox. Yeah. It's going very slowly though, because there's like it's a thick oil and a really thin hose. But yeah, this will work. This is a trick that will work. PET bottle,
You drill a hole into the lid. Yeah, that's when EU is wondering where are their lids. Right here. Worry not about them. They're being well used. No need to panic.